Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all all doing? Welcome to Cliff Notes Live. Welcome to episode, I think I said it's 145. I hope I'm right. I hope I haven't messed up somewhere along the way. A good Monday evening to all of y'all. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Now, we're going to have fun here this evening. How could you not have fun talking about Big Brother, all the craziness that's been going on in the house? But before we do, I just wanted to point out real quickly, 9/11, it was 22 years ago today that we had the horrible attacks. My hearts go out to everyone who was involved with that. It still hurts. I still remember that day so much. We actually honored it while we were in the house. And we can talk about that later if y'all want, but I just wanted to point that out. Never forget, always remember. All right, with that being said, SKD 143. I love my wife, love my kids, love reality TV, especially love Big Brother, and especially love the guys that come out here. All y'all hanging out with me every Monday night. Thank you so much. Those of you watching live, those of you watching on repeat as well, I welcome and appreciate the support from all of y'all. It means a lot. For those of you who may be new to Cliff Notes Live, and we do have some out there, thank you for that. But always keep in mind, you can go out there and you can actually subscribe to my YouTube channel. And when you do, if you turn on notifications, not only will you find out when I'm going to do my Monday night show, which you should kind of know when it's going to be on, right? You know, Monday night and all that, but you also get my morning recaps. And sometimes I get those out early in the morning. Other times, not so early. We had Cameron and Izzy moving dirt back and forth forever. So that was a little bit later. Now, if you turn on notifications, as soon as I post it, you'll get the morning recaps every day. So please consider that. And you can do a little thumbs up while you're out there as well. All right, enough with the advertisements. What a crazy week at Big Brother, huh? All right, a couple of things real quick before we, I want to see y'all's out there, but before I even do that, I want to look at a couple of them out here. Karen, thank you. Thank you so much for the, what do they call it, super sticker or whatever. I appreciate it. She says, Cliff always has the best Big Brother updates. It's a labor of love. I mean, I love the show before I ever went on it. I was a huge fan. Then I got to experience, can y'all imagine what that's like? Being such a huge fan of the show and then getting to do it. It's like being a huge sports fan. And one day they just throw you out in the field and they say, you're going to be a quarterback for the Cowboys or Texans or whoever your favorite team is. That's what it felt like when I was in that house. So Karen, thank you so much. And then Mask Spoofer as well, a super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate it. Masked. I'd call you by name, but you're masked. I don't know. Now, thank y'all both so much. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. I do not. I know there's some people out there who charge for their shows and they have patron accounts and all that. That's not what I'm out here for. Yeah, I'm out here just because I love talking to you guys. And I love talking Big Brother. So I appreciate it a whole lot. All right, let me see out here real quick. And I'm not going to answer the questions. I just want to see who's here, and then we'll start covering it. Brian Hotstetter. Brian, how are you doing, sir? Haven't talked to you in a while. Marilyn Sutherland, Jake the Horror Movie Geek, Amanda Lowe, Mark Taylor, Keith Franken, Desiree Watts, let's see, Auntie W. I think I said that before. I'll say it, but again, Maddie Denchi. Hey, Maddie, welcome back. How are you doing? Terry Thomas, Mass Spoofer, again, hey, Mask, Tina Warner, YG, DIY Girl, Michelle Tuller, Kim Sinclair. Gosh, so many of y'all out here. Crosstrack 6. Hey, Crosstrack. Susan, Wyatt Garrett. Hi, Wyatt. Josh P. You know, I'm so happy when I see all these names out here that I see week after week. And I'm glad to see the new ones as well. Ma House School going. I hope you're doing fantastic. Carly Hunt, the Zazoo, Tommy Braskett, and we're going to cut this off pretty quick. June Stevens, Kimbers 123, Cindy Heyer. Hey, Cindy, how are you? And let's see, Karen Hummer, Barbara Schultz, and Patricia Miller, Tracy Muckenfuss. I got to just go ahead and throw that name out there. I have to be so careful when I pronounce your name, Tracy. And I think we'll call it that. Meg's Beer, Diane Cockerham, and Based Sith. I love y'all, some of these names out here. Melissa Christophan, Jamie Ward, Bina Lupins, and I think we'll have to shut it down out there. For those of you who I didn't get to, ask me some questions. Give me your opinions there, everything on. All right, one more comment. Mass Spoofer, thank you again. People call me Spoof for short. All right, Spoof, you got my attention. Thank you so much again for the super sticker. Man, thank you. Y'all really warm my heart. Not just the stickers and all that, but just having y'all out here. All right, so with all that being said, what are y'all thinking about Big Brother? Do y'all like this little change in the power structure, so to speak? It's been a crazy few days. I'm in for it. All right, let me start looking at some of the questions, and we'll come back with some more comments on that. All right, Brian Hosteller saying, will there be flip-flopping this week? With this cast of Big Brother, I think they would flip-flop on anything. If you said you can either have peanut butter or pickles as a have-not, they'd spend 2 days arguing, and they'd flip-flop 5 times between there in the first hour, figuring out what they'd want. Are they going to flip-flop? Or let me say one more thing for those of you who may be new out here. We're going to talk about spoilers. The show yesterday on CBS showed the nominations. We know who's on the block, right? Well, for those who follow the live feeds, we also know who won the veto. We know what happened to the veto ceremony. We have to talk about that. So if you aren't interested in spoilers, you can come back and watch this a little bit later on replay once you've had a chance to watch the episode, because we are going to mention it. All right. I just don't want to surprise anyone. But yeah, even though for those of you who don't know that are interested in spoilers, we did have the veto ceremony today. Jared chose to not use the veto. I can't say I was really surprised. I really expected, he kind of bounced back and forth, but I figured that Mama Fields would get in his ear and say, don't you dare use that veto, and potentially get me up on the block. So he did not use a veto, which means either Felicia or Izzy is going home. Yeah, I think they're going to flip-flop quite a bit. Now, will the core group flip-flop? I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I think Sari is pretty dead set on getting Felicia out. Jared, I think he wants Felicia out as well. So maybe they won't flip-flop, but I know there's a lot of other people. Cameron's going to be putting a lot of pressure on people to vote out Izzy, because that's who he wants out the door. So between Cameron pushing that direction, Sari and Jared potentially pushing the other direction, it's those people in the middle that you may see some little flip-flops taking place for this entire week. Who knows? Cameron's issue is he doesn't have power anymore. He didn't get to name someone else for the veto today, so his power effectively ended Friday when he made nominations. So he doesn't necessarily have the influence to drive a vote to get Izzy out. And I think he's going to realize that as he goes forward. All right, some other questions. Marilyn Sutherland has says Cameron's been trying to vote out Izzy. Oh, yeah. You know, they're mortal enemies. They're Lex Luthor and Superman. They're Batman and Catwoman. Yes, Cameron wants Izzy out. Izzy wants Cameron out. The only thing that amazes me is that this is Cameron's second HOH, and he's just now trying to get out Izzy. I was amazed it didn't happen earlier, but yeah, he definitely wants Izzy out over Felicia. And I was interesting because I've been watching the feeds throughout the day, and he's doing a lot of things. He was talking to Corey and saying, yeah, people maybe they're mad at Felicia. She's loud. She kind of irritates people and all that. He said, but Felicia is never going to be a threat from a strategy standpoint, from a competition standpoint. He's saying Izzy is the huge threat in this house. Felicia is just kind of irritating. He said, we can get rid of her anytime, but the longer we let Izzy stay in this game, the harder it is going to be able to get her out, because she is a strategic player. And I actually agree with that from Cameron's standpoint. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to happen. I think Sari will exert her influence, and we'll still see Felicia go home, which, I kind of cheered for the oldest person in the house, as I do every season. There's some things that Felicia's done that would drive me crazy inside the house, like trying to make people go to bed early and constantly griping at Big Brother for not turning off the lights or for not having the proper foods in the house, things like that. I would drive me bonkers sometimes. But having said that, she's been fun to watch in the house. So as much as I like seeing the power structure shaking up, it is going to be rough to see one of those two head out the door, because they bring a lot of good TV in a whole lot of ways, right? But yeah, I think there'll be plenty of flip-flopping back and forth just because of the different people. All right, Mark Taylor is saying, what grade would you give the show so far? I say a B-. That's interesting. Let's break it down a little bit into different parts of the show. Cast, I'm going to give the cast a C. Does that sound brutal? And the reason I say I was so sold on this cast coming into this season. I mean, I thought they did an amazing job picking people, but now that we've seen 40 days, 40 nights, so we've seen in the Bible, that's like forever, right? We've seen 40 nights, so this far into it, I don't know that there's as many people truly playing cutthroat game like I expected them to. And maybe it's just the presence of Cirie. Maybe she is such a dynamic force in there that's part of it. But I really expected to see more people not just kind of following along, follow the leader, Simon Says kind of stuff. I expected to see a little bit more flopping back and forth and all that. So I've been giving him a C for the cast. I'm a fan of Corey. I think he's doing well. I liked watching see what Cameron did this week with his HOH power. I don't, even though it's boring sometimes, I don't really have an issue with Cirie. I mean, I think she's playing some strategic game as well. But overall, maybe a C for the cast. As far as a twist and everything go, I always worry about these twists that they're gonna do too much and affect the game too much. I'm okay with them so far. I'll give the twist and everything a B plus. So overall, what's that work out to? Probably not that far from a B minus. I'll give it up just a little notch more, like your favorite professor, and give it a B. So there's been worse seasons, and I still have a whole lot of hope, and I hope there's going to be a lot better strategic play once we get into the jury phase. We'll see. And we don't know what's going to happen next week or this week now. Julie talked about something special with the jury. Could you have a final three or America's vote or something? Don't know yet. I'm anxious to find out. All right. Andy W saying Cameron needs to figure out Jared is not on his side. And now, here's the thing. I watch some of the conversations that take place, and I never can tell for certain. Do both of them know that they're lying to each other and they're just blowing smoke up their whatever, or do they truly believe this is what's going on? Because we as viewers, we get to see all the conversations, right? And it seems obvious to me that if I'm Cameron, I'm sitting in there listening to Jared talk, and I'm seeing how tight Jared is with Cirie and Izzy and Felicia. How could Cameron not think that Jared is close to them, no matter what he's saying to you? It seems so obvious. And yet, having been in that house, having known what it's like to only get portions of conversation and see certain rooms and all that, it is possible that Cameron just doesn't understand that he thinks that Jared is playing a double agent. Remember, he doesn't know that Jared is Felicia's mom. I'm thinking of Blue there. No, Cameron doesn't know that Jared is Cirie's son. So he doesn't automatically associate the two of them being as tight as they are. Maybe because of that, but my gut tells me that Cameron knows that Jared's trying to play him, and he's just playing along just because Jared's his tool at this point in time. I feel like a lot of what Cameron is doing right now, yes, it's good gameplay in some ways, but as I've said on some of my morning shows, you can shake up the house. You can do crazy things, but if you don't have a strategy going forward, well, you're pulling a Frenchie, right? He did so much his first week, but then that was it, and he was gone, and that doesn't help you. He's got to have some kind of finishing strategy on this thing, and maybe part of that is leading Jared on a little bit. Now, it's not really helping because then Jared goes off on his own and says, Cameron's crazy if he believes any of this. I'm going to backdoor him first chance I get. Jared doesn't like anyone in this house, right? Every other comment that comes out of Jared's mouth, it seems like is, bro, I hate that person. I can't stand that person. America, Corey, Cameron, Bowie Jane, anyone that's not working with Jared and Cirie basically can't stand it, and he hates it and all that. He's going to burn himself out quick as well. But yeah, I think Cameron's got to have some kind of exit strategy. So we'll see. I know when I was in the house, I got some criticism because when I won HOH, I put up Mickey, I put up Jack. I was ready to make the big move. But when the veto competition didn't go my way, I had to have a strategy going forward. And unfortunately, that meant doing a little bit of compromising in terms of who I wanted out. Cameron needs to keep that in mind as well. He said today, if this is the end of it, because Corey said, you got to know that you're a backdoor option for a lot of people. They may win HOH. He said, if that's the case, oh, well, I took my shot and all that. No, you got to be thinking about alternative plans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or else you're just going to go home and people will forget about you. All right. Deborah Dining sent a super stamp. Thank you, Dinah. Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it so much. God, y'all are just incredibly kind this evening. So thank you for that. All right. What else do we have on here? Terry Thomas. How do you think you would play with the current cast? And Matt Van Grissom saying, who would you have worked with on this cast? That is a very good question. What an amazing question, because how I would do really depends on how I would have interacted as soon as I got in that house. Who would I have naturally been gravitating towards? I remember when the season first started, you had what they call the handful and the family, whatever it was. You had at the time they were saying the youngins versus the older folks in the house, right? And the young folks were Riley and Matt and Jag and all of them. As much as I was cheering for some of those, probably at the end of the day, I would have ended up being more gravitating towards some of the older folks in the house, which would have been Haisam and Sari and Felicia and some of them. So I kind of think I would have been over on that side. I hate to say it. I feel like maybe I could have gotten into a position a little similar to what Red had, where he felt like he was tight with Sari. He felt like he was pretty close with some people in that house, but he wasn't so locked in that he couldn't also have conversations on the other side. So I can see myself taking a role similar to what Red did. Hopefully I would not have gotten so locked in step with someone else that I would have not sacrificed him, that I would have gotten so upset and really had issues that he did at the end of the game. I like Red, and it's unfortunate. I did see Red came out as one of his, after he got out of the house interview, saying, yeah, I owe Cameron an apology for that. That Cameron didn't say everything that Jared had said he had said, and that's what made Red mad. And now Red realizes, it was just Cameron. I mean, it's just Jared doing stuff. So yeah, I kind of see how I would play that, but I'd like to think I would have done a little bit better than Red as well. I think now here's the thing. I would have reached out to Corey very quickly, because one, people wouldn't expect one of the older guys to be working with the younger guy and all of that. And yet Corey is such a strategic, such a logical thinker that I think he and I would have had some shared approaches to the game. So I feel like I'd work like Red, but also have Corey and America in there as a bit of a support structure as well. And in my game, when I played, once I realized I wasn't part of the big majority, it was very much just sit back, let some of these big groups explode around each other, and then you stick around and pick up the pieces. And so, who's playing a game like that right now? Matt. I see Matt, and maybe Nicole, although it's tough because I just don't know. She hadn't really, she's so quiet so far, but really Matt's kind of going between a bunch of different groups and waiting until other people's games blow up. And then I feel like he's ready to jump in. So I don't know. It's fun trying to put myself in this house and figure out how I would play it a little bit different versus the way they're doing it in there. And I'd like to think I wouldn't be such a follower of Sari and Izzy like some of these people are. Tried not to do it during my season, but it's tough when you're in that house. All right, Josh P. saying, hey, Josh, how come Felicia keeps destroying mics if they're waterproof on the wall competitions? Well, here's the thing. Some of you may or may not know it. We've got different types of microphones when we're in the house. There's the regular microphone that is very much, you just wear it day to day. It's a very small little mic. It has a tiny little foam thing over the top, and you wear that all the time just because, right? And that's 90% of the time. For some of the competitions where there's a chance that you're going to get wet, they'll give us a microphone that has a little bit bigger foam thing around it so it can handle more splashing and things like that. So that's the second kind of microphone we have. Then the third microphone we have is the full, I can't remember what they call it, your mic pack, your waterproof pack. It's actually a microphone, because the regular microphones have a little thing about the size of a cell phone or a pager, for those of you who remember pagers, that the microphone plugs into, and you keep it in your back pocket or somewhere, your back, stuck in your belt or something. The ones that you have for the real waterproof type competitions where you're just going to get drenched and stuff, like that competition where they're crawling through that goop, for those, you've got a belt, kind of like a weightlifter's belt, a big Velcro belt that the mic pack slides into, and then you wrap that thing around your waist, attach it with Velcro super tight, and then it has a microphone that's I guess 100% waterproof. And so that's what we use on the competitions where they know you're going to get super wet. OTEV or some of the ones we've seen like that. So the normal mic that she wears around, that we all wear around 95% of the time, that's the kind that Felicia just keeps dropping in the toilet and all that. Now, they told us when we were in there, I said, if you get one wet, tell us immediately. Don't try to hide it. You're not in trouble if it happens. Just tell us immediately and we can probably fix it. But if you wait, then we can't do anything about it. And they are expensive. I never had an issue with mine. Some people did. Felicia probably more so than anyone else for a lot of seasons. All right, Cross Track 6 saying, what did you think of last night's Veto? Well, there's a couple of things. I really want to see the episode on Wednesday night where we see the actual mechanics of the Veto. For those of you who don't know, it was, they call it the Yankee Exchange. I call it a white elephant type deal. It's where one person is eliminated at a time. When you're eliminated, you get a prize, but then you can either keep that prize or you can take someone else's prize that's finished before you, that's already been eliminated. And that way, if you get towards the end, then you get to theoretically take the prizes versus some of the punishments that are out there and all that. And then the very last person can choose a veto or something else. I want to see that. I thought it was interesting that Jared won the veto because as much as Sari and Izzy and probably even Felicia, and it didn't work to her advantage, but as much as that side probably would have wanted someone in their group to have that veto so they could control what was going on, from Jared's standpoint, I feel like it created some issues that, now he's got pressure from Cameron to use it. If he doesn't use it, does that somehow affect how Cameron feels about Jared? He's got pressure from Sari and others. But I think Jared is just so, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word. I think Jared thought that he was going to be considered the comp beast of this season. And instead, it's Cameron. It was Haisam. Then they got rid of Haisam. Now it's Cameron and even Jag to some degree. Jag's only won, I think, one competition, right? That one going through the goop. But I feel like Jared's a little perturbed that he's not considered the comp beast right now. And so I feel like he wanted that HOH for no reason other than that. But I said I want to watch it when it's on the Wednesday night episode. Now, the reason being is because I've heard that, yes, Jared won veto, but it was kind of handed to him. I think it was Matt that could have taken the veto, but instead he let Jared have it. And then Matt ends up. I've also heard that Matt thought that he was getting a dinner or a week with Josh Duhamel from that Buddy Games or whatever. He thought that he was actually getting to hang around with the actual guy. And instead he just gets a cardboard cutout for a week. Now, I don't know if that's what Matt really thought or that's just the excuse he's using, but he didn't want the veto. Matt, I think, realized that that could be fraught with a little danger in this particular season, that he was probably safe no matter what. But I love that veto competition. I wish there were only 2 veto competitions that I didn't compete in during my season. And this is one of them. And I was so upset. Kat got house guest choice. I really thought maybe she would pick me. I take that back. Jessica got house guest choice. And I thought maybe she would pick me, but I just hurt my hamstring or I tore my calf muscle. So she's a little worried it'd be some kind of competition that I couldn't do well in. So she picked Kat instead. And then I missed out on prizes and everything else. So yeah, but I love those competitions. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday. All right, Connie Garbarino saying, so glad I found Cliff Notes. Well, I'm glad you found us as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been doing it forever. 3 years, I guess. That seems like forever. It's hard to believe it's 4 years since I've been in that house. But thank you. I appreciate it. We have a blast here every Monday night. Just kind of a family type deal. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So thank you for the support. Jared Varfield is saying, do you think Sari would vote Jared out? Now, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? She may vote him out when she finds out how much he's been running his mouth. I don't know. I kind of don't think so. I think the only time she would ever vote Jared out was if she was in a situation where she felt like that was the only path for victory for either one of them. That if it was a situation where afterwards she could say, well, if I didn't do it and I went home, then he goes home right after or something. If there's some way she can justify it, then perhaps. But I kind of don't see it. I think that now ask it the other direction. Is there any way that Jared would vote out Suri? Yeah, I think he would. I think he'd say, "Hey, Mom, you've won a lot of stuff, or at least you've been in a lot of things. You've won one, the Traders." But yeah, I think he would quickly, if he thought it would benefit his long game, I think he would boot his mom out of the house. The other way around, Suri booting Jared. Yeah, I don't think so. She had a conversation with Izzy saying, look, if when there was a chance that maybe she could get backdoored or something. And she said, look, if I'm gone, you need to find Jared. The two of you need to work together and be tight and all of that. And I think she was serious about it. I think Sari has done so many different competitions that if she could let her son win one, I think she would, I think she'd let him have it over herself. But here's interesting. I don't know that we're going to get there, but what if you had a final two between Sari and Jared? How hard would Sari argue that she deserves it over her son or vice versa? That could be kind of interesting. I think at that point she would put the full press on and do everything possible to try to win and may the best man win. But yeah, I don't think she'd vote him out. I think she'll find some reason not to, and unless it's just dire situation. All right. He's Chickadee Kenny saying, not a Cam fan, but he's playing everyone, including production, making for good feeds and good TV. I agree. There's even now, there are things that Cameron does that just bother me. And I don't know why they should. I think it's funny whenever he talks to, and I know there's been some talk about that he was a little, I'll just use the word creepy, a little creepy at times and all that. And I guess I get that, but even the way he talks to people in the HOH room, these one-on-ones and all that, people don't like silence. People tend to try to fill silence with words if you're having a conversation. And he seems to understand that because he will just maybe throw something out, but he just sits there and lets people feel awkward because there's no conversation going on. And then they just start throwing stuff out. And before you know it, maybe they're giving out more information than they thought they were. And he just steps in every once in a while, mentions something to maybe guide the conversation a little bit. Someone at one point had thought that Cameron maybe could be a police officer or something because he used a word like across state lines. I think it's Jared who said, he said, if you're across state lines and only police use that term and all that. We know he's not a police officer. I don't think he is. Now he's military, but not a police officer. But I feel like he'd be a pretty good detective because I feel like from an interrogation standpoint, that same kind of awkwardness he creates would be fantastic in an interrogation room. His HOHs are uncomfortable. Kylan from a couple of seasons ago, Kylan's conversation one-on-ones were uncomfortable because they lasted for 4 or 5 hours, it seems like. Cameron's, because he just is up there almost acting like he doesn't really want to talk to you, but you feel like you have to kind of kiss the ring, and he just sits back and lets people just go on and on. But yeah, Cameron has upset the house, flipped it. I love it. I'm all on board for it. He won that HOH. No one clapped for him. Jared didn't come over and hand him the key. You always hand the new HOH the key, no matter how much y'all are enemies or whatever. He didn't do that. So I love, and I've said this many times on the morning shows on this Cliff Notes Live, I don't want anyone in that Big Brother house to ever feel like they're safe and they don't have to fight week to week to week. And so Cameron coming in there, he's shaking up some people that I thought were getting a little cocky, a little arrogant. And I'm all for it. I'm all on board. People are going to be talking about Cameron in this HOH week for a long time, I do believe. It's great. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. All right. Megan Piskorski said, tired of Jared getting mad at everyone for simply playing the game and making alliances. Yeah, you're right. He gets mad at everyone, and he gets mad because people are lying to him. He gets mad because he got mad at America and Corey, or I think specifically Corey, because he said that now that Corey and America are in a showmance, that now America is going to be spilling stuff that Corey gives, and how dare Corey, be in a showmance and potentially risk the information that Jared is giving to Corey by now saying stuff to America. And so as a result, Jared doesn't trust America, so now he can't trust Corey. And how dare he? Well, it's not like Jared hadn't had his little Blue right next to him the whole time and telling her all kinds of information as well. So, yeah, and here's the thing. I feel, and again, I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt while they're in the house, because I understand what a pressure cooker, not just the competition, but the house itself can be. So I'll give him a benefit of the doubt, but it just seems like Jared takes things too personally sometimes when he doesn't need to. It's just a game. If Corey's got some side alliances, if Jag is trying to cover his bases with a couple of different groups, well, it's not because he hates you, Jared. It's just because he's trying to do what he can to stay in the game. And Jared acts like everyone's objective in this house should be, what can we do to make sure that we don't impact Jared's game negatively, right? I mean, it's like they're all fight. If they aren't fighting to stay in the game as long as possible, then they shouldn't be there in the first place. But yeah, I just feel like Jared takes things personal instead of just applauding good play, which brings up this question. And I'd be curious to see what y'all think about this. What kind of jury are we shaping up? Are we seeing this shaping up to be? I personally think this could be a very bitter jury at the end of it. Are there going to be some people who vote for who they think played the best game? Yeah, I think there'll be some like that. But I think there's a lot of people who are just going to vote for whoever didn't make them mad at the end. We heard Felicia and Sari both saying that they'd vote for Bowie Jane. They'd vote for Jag before they ever voted for Cameron or Corey or some other people, just because they're upset with those people. And I don't like that. I can't say it's the wrong way to play. You vote however you want if you make it to jury, but I don't have a lot of respect for those who vote based on personal issues and who burned them and become a bitter juror as opposed to truly rewarding the people who played the best game. But I see this jury being very bitter by the time we get to the end. And yeah, that's a shame, because I don't want the person to win being the person who just made the fewest people mad. That's not the way I want to see it done. All right, Jamie Ward saying, did you enjoy seeing your face on one of the games this season? Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was the competition that Jag ended up winning. They had to slide back and forth through the goop and lay the eggs and all that. Yeah, and they came out, and it's right next to where they came out was a big blow up of me from my Groundhog comics. I had no idea. It's not like CBS reached out and said, "Oh, Cliff, get ready. You're going to be on TV." And it's certainly not like I get residuals or anything from that show. No, I had no clue until I saw it on the screen. It's like, oh, wow, that's fantastic. I did see that Tom Wynn is the guy, the artist who did the original BB comics for me. He did myself and 3 or 4 others. I can't remember who. But I reached out to him and said, hey, thank you. It's just so cool that someone as artistic as you drew something like that of me. And he came back saying, it was my pleasure and all that. But he had posted a thing and said that wasn't just my BB comic that they just like photoshopped into a new graphic or something. They actually approached him and said, can you take that BB comic and do a new graphic that's very similar, but bigger and not square shape or rectangle or whatever. So that's what they did. Yeah, it's really cool. I'd love to reach out to CBS and say, hey, I can't imagine that anyone else in the world necessarily wants that graphic. Could you send it to me? It's just what my wife wants, is a giant head of me sitting up on the living room wall. It'd be like a fat head, but just of me as a groundhog. But yeah, I don't think they're going to send it to me. But yeah, that was really cool. I enjoyed seeing that. All right. Just see what else. Now, here's the thing. I wish they'd just even donate it. If they'll donate to Give Kids the World, I'll go sign it, and that would be fine too. But I have a feeling she's going to sit in a warehouse somewhere, like Indiana, like the Ark of the Covenant on Indiana Jones or something, right? They'll find it 40 years from now and say, "Who's this doofus?" All right, DIY girl saying a diary room question. Do you see a real person or talk through a TV to production? You do not see a real person. You talk to a camera that's pointing at you, and that's a diary room voting. All of it's exactly the same. When you walk into the diary room, and you can't really tell from the way it's set up, but when you walk into the diary room, the couch is actually, and here's the couch behind for this season. The couch is actually at an angle. So it's a square type room, and the couch is set at a 45-degree angle, and there's a camera that's over in one corner. And as soon as there's 2 things when you go into the diary room that you do. One, is you immediately take off your microphone and you put it in a special little box next to the couch that I guess is soundproofed or whatever, because they had one season someone started talking and something weird happened. Their microphone picked up what they were saying and it was played through the rest of the house. And everyone heard what was said for a few minutes in the diary room. So now they get around that by having you take off your mic, put it in this little soundproof box before you ever get started. So you do that, you sit down, you're like, hey, big brother, how are you doing? I don't know what other people do. That's why I always say, hey, big brother, how are you? So we're doing all right, Cliff. Sit tight, let us get a good, let us get the camera set up on you. And the camera's pointing at you, and all of a sudden you're just, it's moving back and forth. And sometimes they'll say, hey, Cliff, can you scoot a little over to the left? Can you scoot a little over to the right? And yeah, sure. Yeah, can you pull your hat up or whatever? One time I know I was in there and I'd cut myself shaving. So I had a cut over here, and they said, Cliff, you got a little cut there. I said, yeah, and I've been trying to get it stop all morning. I said, well, if you look behind you, there's a little bag that's got your name on it. It's got some makeup. Could you put a little something on there? So they actually have a basket behind the couch for every house guest that has, for the women, who knows what kind of makeup. For the guys, it's just like a little Stipic pen to stop, cuts, and a little makeup to daub over it and all of that. And so I put that on there, and then they say, all right, now you're looking all pretty, Cliff. But yeah, you never look at the person. It's just a camera that's pointed at you. You hear a voice asking you questions. It's not always the same voice. There's half a dozen producers or so, and sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's another. I never could tell a difference. There are other people who seems like they knew every person by name based on their voice. For me, it's just like, hey, big brother, welcome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear y'all again. But yeah, so you don't ever see a person when you're doing diary rooms. All right, Diane Cockerham saying, who do you think will go home? I think it's Felicia. I think that Cameron's going to be pushing hard to get Izzy out the door. But I think there's just too many people, even like someone like Matt. Matt has said that he would like to have Felicia out. Can that change between now and then? Yeah, absolutely. And Cameron's going to be telling a lot of people that Izzy's the bigger threat, and therefore you ought to consider that. Is he going to be able to convince Jag? Now that he doesn't really have any power, is Jag really going to feel beholden to Cameron, or is he going to be like, yeah, we're done now, or play along, but not really do what Cameron wants? My guess is that Cirie is going to exert some power and save Izzy, and for no other reason. I mean, I think she wants to save Izzy over Felicia because she's a little tired of Felicia, especially after 48 hours in a kayak together. They've had enough of that. But for no other reason than the fact that Cameron wants to send Izzy out the door. I think there's a lot of people in that house that for that reason alone, they're going to say, well, if Cameron wants her out, we're going to keep her just as a payback for Cameron. At the end of the day, I think that could have an effect on one or two votes. I think Felicia goes home. Is it a 5-4 vote, or when people start realizing it, do they all pile on and it's going to be another 9-0 vote or something? I don't think it'll be 9-0, but I could see it maybe being 7-2 or something. But yeah, I think Felicia's going home. But we got a few days before that happens. And with this season, who knows? All right, what else do we have on here? Marilyn Sutherland saying, love the veto ceremony. So funny. Oh, yeah. Well, the veto ceremony, we haven't seen that on the live feed yet. Or we haven't seen that on the feeds yet, right? We're going to see that on Wednesday. What? I'm assuming you may be talking about the HOH ceremony where they had to do the pies in the face. Brilliant. I loved it. Now, I thought they were going to have the key wheel from earlier seasons, and I was all excited about that. I wish they'd had that during my season. I thought they were going to bring that back based on some of the conversations I'd heard from the house guests. Turns out wasn't the case. It was still just the box with the 2 keys in it, but it didn't matter. They basically had the key wheel without it being there, in that Cameron got to pick one person at a time and say by smashing a pie in their face, say, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe, until they got to the very end. Everyone's talking about it afterwards, saying as soon as he smashed that pie into Jag's face, then everyone knew something was up, because Jag and Blue had been what he was saying the whole time. And then he got Blue. And so Izzy and Felicia knew what was going on. Brilliant. I loved it. Those pies, they only had pies for 30 minutes or whatever. During our season with that prank week, we were smashing pies in each other's faces for just about the entire week long. And those pies, and they had fillings in their pies. Our pies were nothing but graham cracker crust pie shells and whipped cream. That's all we did. We just filled the pie shell with whipped cream, smashed it in each other's faces. It's no filling or anything else. That whipped cream, after the first day or two, after that, it seemed like it took about 15 minutes. That whipped cream would go sour, and it'd be in your nose, in your ears, wherever. It doesn't matter how much you bathed, how much you cleaned, washed, cleaned the floors. That whole house smelled like the most disgusting sour milk halfway through that week. It was horrible. I remember I had one HOH previously, and they gave me some body wash in my HOH basket. I was taking that body wash and taking just a little dab and putting it inside each of my nostrils just so I wouldn't smell the sour cream. That is how bad it smelled in there. I'm absolutely serious. I was trying to put some kind of perfume stuff in there just to avoid the smell. That was a rough week. The cleanup was not a lot of fun, but the smell of sour whipped cream, and you can't get away from it for 7 days straight. Ugh, I still remember it. I may never even be able to eat whipped cream again after that. It was rough. But yeah, I love the HOH nomination ceremony they showed Sunday night. Such brilliance. I wish they'd do that more often. All right. Roman Colombo saying, why is Sari and her crew so shocked and hurt that Cameron betrayed them after they betrayed him? I don't know. Why? You're right. Why in the world do you act like this is some kind of unexpected personal attack on you? You didn't even cheer for the guy when he won the HOH. He was part of your Legends 25 alliance, and so was Red, and you proved that meant absolutely nothing to you. And as Cameron has pointed out several times right after it happened, he said, look, I was one vote. I couldn't have changed anything at all. You could have told me as well, and at least I would have said goodbye to Red. You wouldn't have made me look like a tool on TV. You wouldn't have made me look like you were just making me the butt of a joke. And so, talking about Jared taking things personally, I think Cameron did too. And I think that's one of the reasons that Cameron wanted to do this whole subterfuge and spy kind of stuff about telling everyone it's going to be Jag and Blue, and then he turns around and puts up Felicia and Izzy. It wasn't enough just to put up Felicia and Izzy. I think he truly wanted to shock and surprise people the way that he felt like he had been shocked and surprised by what happened. We saw, was it on the episode last night, I think, or live feeds, I can't remember now. Bowie Jane was like, well, guys, y'all didn't tell me, and you kind of left me out of everything. You're kind of forcing me to go over with Cameron. And Sari and them actually got upset that Bowie was upset at them. Well, I think that's an absolute natural reaction of Bowie Jane saying, I'm getting the feeling that I'm not included here, guys. And yet they took that as some kind of a personal affront, that how dare Bowie Jane get upset with us. And they say, oh, we're watching out for you now. No, they're not doing any of that. They talk horribly about Bowie Jane at times in this house. And that's another person. She's a barista, not barista, barrister, which is just a fancy word for attorney in other countries, I guess. But I think Bowie Jane's got more going on than she's letting people know. I think she could be one of these people who suddenly is going to hit a switch when she feels like it's time and start taking over this game. I just have a gut feel that she's playing dumb, and that's not really who she is. She reminds me a little bit from our season of Kat. People didn't take Kat seriously. They thought that she was just going along with people and didn't have a whole lot of her own agency in that game. Kat knew a lot more that was going on than the people in that house that we understood at the time. I think I figured out quicker than some people did. Maybe not quick enough, but I kind of feel like Bowie Jane may surprise us at some point. I hope so. I want to see her turn around, and how great would it be if she just suddenly became a comp beast, strategic, crazy person that's just booting people left and right. All of everyone's favorites are all in the house, and she ends up making it to the final two and wins in a runaway. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? All right, what else do we have on here? I'm not betting on it, but I think she may do okay. All right, Maddie Dinchy is saying, who do you think would hit the block on a Jag HOH? Well, now that's the golden question, isn't it? Jag has to feel a little burned and betrayed by the Seven Deadly Sins Alliance, right? I mean, you would think, but he also probably is feeling a little burned by just about everyone in this house. Who hasn't done Jag dirty so far? It seems like a little bit of everyone, except for Matt. Matt is the person that I feel like Jag probably is feeling tightest with. Jag and America. Though those three may feel okay. So I almost feel like at that point, who would Matt and America be talking to Jag about wanting to get out if it came down to it? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that Jag would go after Corey. I don't know that they're on the tightest of terms with each other, but just because of America, I don't think that would happen. It wouldn't be Matt. Matt feels a little tight with Sari, and I think Jag is hoping that maybe he can get tight with him again. I feel like Jag maybe would feel like he wanted to do what the house wanted to do. So it may depend on when his HOH occurred. He promised Cameron that if he got HOH this week, that he would not put Cameron back up. I kind of think he'd hold that promise. I don't think Jag would go back on that promise. So if it was HOH this week, Bowie Jane and Blue and Jared, some combination of those three, maybe. I don't know. He's a real crapshoot when it comes down to it. But all right, I'll settle for those three right now unless one of y'all convince me otherwise. Some combination of Bowie Jane, Jared, and Blue. We'll see. I'd love to see what he do with it. Those of you, man, not all y'all know, I picked Jag to win this thing. He was my winner's pick. Now, I may not still be making that same forecast, but I'd still like to see him go far in this game. I feel like Jag trusts people too easy and doesn't see the writing on the walls necessarily when he needs to. But it's going to be interesting to see as you go from the beginning game to end game, how people maybe change the way they play it, the game itself. And they better be ready to change it. All right, Michelle Mills is saying, is there anything in the rules that state that the HOH can nominate the veto holder? If the veto holder uses a veto on someone else, pulls them off, can the HOH then put the veto holder up? No. If you win the veto, not only you get safety automatically, and you then get to pick one other person to get safety as well. And that's why sometimes, remember in my season when it was the final five and we had Mickey was HOH, I was on the block versus Tommy. Well, then when Nicole won veto, she pulled me off the block, and Mickey could not put up Nicole because she had won veto. So his only other choice was to put up Holly, even though she was his girlfriend. He didn't have any choice. So sometimes that rule can really come into play because not only are you protecting maybe your ride or die, but you're also protected when you win that veto as well. Now, if Mickey had done it differently, if he had put Nicole and myself both on the block at the same time, then if either one of us had won veto, we would have pulled ourselves off the block. But then Mickey would have just put Tommy on the block instead, and Holly would have been protected. So he kind of screwed up that week. And he's not the only person. People have done that throughout just about every season here or there. But yeah, the veto holder is safe no matter what they do, whether they use a veto or not. They are safe. They can't be put on the block that week. So yeah, having veto is pretty nice. All right, let's see. Melissa Christofferson saying, supposed to be a twist with the jury house. Yeah, I know. And I'm really curious to see, is Julie just going to announce that the next welcome to jury or something? But the next four of you that go to jury, you may not be going to the permanent jury house because we're going to have a post-jury battle back or something. I could see that. Are they going to try to grab a little bit of Survivor and say that it's going to be a final three instead of a final two, and therefore jury begins this week? What if Felicia's out the door and then they say, Felicia, you're not going home. You're actually our first member of the jury because we have a different composition of people. Or what if she comes back and says, house guest, this year we're only going to have 7 jury members instead of 9. So we've got a few more to go through. Don't think that you're on jury yet. I don't know. Or what if you go way back, was it season 2 with Danielle Reyes, where the house guests weren't sequestered? What if they say the next person who goes out is going to be on jury, but they're not going to the jury house? They get to watch and learn everything and then cast their vote. I don't think they'll do that, but that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because then if that was to happen, the people that are still in the house, how differently would they act if they know that someone is back home watching every move they make? And that's why I don't think they'll do it, because they don't want to stifle some of the stuff that happens in the house. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what this twist is. I hope it's good. We'll find out. I don't know. Maybe they're going to say America gets to vote. We're going to get a vote in the jury house as well. I'm all on board for that. That'd be all right. All right. Cindy Hires. Cindy, if Izzy gets evicted, will she spill the beans on Jared and Suri? What an amazing question. And yes, I would love to see it happen. I don't think it will happen, because Izzy is just feeling so much. She might as well just change her last name to Fields, right? She's Suri at one point called her Isabel, and Izzy said, the only people who call me Isabel is my family. And Suri knows what she's doing. And if it looks like there's any chance that Izzy's going home, Suri is going to be smothering Izzy with love and everything that she has to do to make sure that Izzy walks out that door with full loyalty to Suri. So the only way that I could imagine that Izzy would spill the beans on the way out is if something happens between now and Thursday where Izzy just absolutely feels betrayed by Suri, and so she decides to do something. But I have a feeling no matter what, Suri could just absolutely throw Izzy under the bus. And I think Izzy would say, I hate that you did it, but I understand that you did it. That's the kind of player that you are, that you always are playing the game. And I respect that. And I still love you, Suri, and I want you to win this thing. So yeah, I'm not saying a word. I don't think there's any way that she spills the beans as she goes out the door. Certainly this week, somewhere down the road. I don't know. I even question, let's imagine that she gets to a point where it's her and Jared and Suri are the only three left. Or maybe you've got like a final five or something left. If she could spill the beans on Jared and Suri to get the other people still in the house to vote one of them out over Izzy, would she do it? I'm not convinced she would, even if it meant that she stayed in the game and one of them went home. There's a part of me that thinks that Izzy would still hold on to that secret as a way to show how much she loves and respects Suri and who Suri is. I think she would. She talked a little bit this week that maybe she wasn't even going to play the veto if she won it because she was so worried about Suri. They talked her out of that. But now I don't know if she really tried hard at the veto or not. But I still think it's a possibility that Izzy would throw her game away for Suri if it came down to it. So yeah, I don't think she's going to spill the beans. She would surprise me if she did. All right, God, it goes so fast with this. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Jake, the horror movie geek. Hey, Jake, how are you doing? Is Bowie Jane a dark horse? Yeah. I mean, no one's counting on her to do anything just yet, so she's got to be considered a dark horse. I don't keep watching. There's the sites that do stock watch and things like that. She's got to be pretty low down in terms of predictions and forecast and all of that. So definitely a dark horse. And I don't think that's unwarranted. I mean, I'm talking about how cool it would be if she suddenly took control and all of that. I don't know how much. I mean, she's obviously smart, right? And she's obviously very multi-talented. I mean, she's a DJ by night and an attorney by day. That's pretty cool. I don't know how much I'd feel comfortable having an attorney who said, "Oh yeah, I do DJing at night." You could be the best attorney in the world. I'd still be a little nervous if I thought you were hanging out in nightclubs all night long. But yeah, obviously she's smart, but that doesn't necessarily translate always to strategic when it comes to the game of Big Brother. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely a dark horse. Not someone I necessarily would bet even money that she's going to win, but give me long enough odds and I'll take a chance on it because she may surprise some people. All right, let's see what we got. These last few questions. And I'm trying to keep up with all of them, guys, so please be patient. Joe Blow saying, I keep forgetting Nicole is in the house. I know, me too. There's a time or two where I'll hear a voice on the live feed say, who is that? And then, oh, yeah, that's Nicole. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, early pre-jury, if your name isn't getting thrown out there as being a potential target, if people forget that you're in the house, That's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you change it later on in the season. You can't be like I hate to throw names out, but you can't be like Sis for my season, where she never got a chance to take over the game or do anything to suggest that she could win at the end. She never won any competitions, never really was part of the strategic conversation to any large degree. Nicole spends a lot of time listening to other people, which is a fantastic talent in the house. And she does a lot. Yeah, yeah. Now she'll throw out, and she's been having more conversations with Corey. And I'm curious to see if Corey and Nicole start working together. That could potentially be a dynamic duo right there. Because I think the two of them working together could make some magic happen. So yeah, we'll see. But short term, first 40 days, yeah, go for it. If that's what it takes to get you further down the road, not get blood on your hands, not have any true enemies. There's a few people that are a little upset with her on Cerie's side and all that, but for the most part, she's been pretty clean so far. But she can't do it forever. At some point, she's got to take active control, or she may make it to final 2 or 3, but she won't win the thing if she hadn't done anything to deserve it. All right, Amanda's saying, when you sit in the HOH wanting to compete in a competition, why can't you talk to each other? Wait, well, let me read that again. When you sit in the HOH waiting to compete in why can't you talk to each other? Okay, that's pretty good. Yes, there's a lockdown, and that's the veto competitions, right? Some veto competitions take place, and we all get to go out and watch and cheer people on or not, or worry, whatever. But there's some competitions, these timed competitions, where it's one person at a time. And the way it works downstairs is each person is assigned a separate room where they have to wait until the other people go, until it's their turn. You go do your comp, then you come back to that room and hang out. I always got the boat room for some reason. I always appreciated that. But that's how it works downstairs. Anyone who's not competing in the competition is locked upstairs in the HOH room. And the rule was always, now again, there are only 2 veto competitions that I didn't compete in, and both of them were comps where we all got to watch. So I was never locked away upstairs in the HOH room during a veto comp. But it's my understanding that they play music, which they also do during lockdown on eviction day while little people are downstairs setting up cameras and things like that, camera angles and doing things, whatever they do, getting ready for the live show. But when we were up there and we were in a lockdown, they don't want you talking about game because not everyone can participate in it. If you're actively competing and doing things like that, they don't want everyone else to scheme against you because you don't have any say in being up in that room versus somewhere else. So they don't want you talking game. The way they get around that is they play music, just pop music, country, well, whatever. But they tell everyone, if anyone up here starts talking game, we're going to turn off the music so that we can record you talking game. And everyone else in the house is then going to be upset because they want to listen to music while they have a chance. So if you start talking game, the music turns off. Everyone's going to be giving you the evil eye that you cut their music. So that's how they kind of enforce it. And I know during the Thursday lockdowns, we never talked game. We talked about all kinds of random stuff, and we told stories, and there's things we talked about that we didn't want the cameras necessarily to always pick up on because we knew the cameras couldn't record us while the music was playing and stuff. So that's when we'd tell stories that that we just didn't want the whole world to know and all that. But yeah, there's no game talk during those lockdowns at that point in time. All right, Kim Sinclair saying, Izzy is starstruck. I absolutely believe such a perfect description of her. Max Spoofer or Spoofer. So I think Izzy would understand if Cerie said she was stuck going with the house. Would understand. Hold on, let me read that again. I think Izzy would understand if Cerie said she was stuck going with the house. Oh yeah, I think so as well. Izzy just I see a strategist in Izzy, but her loyalty is too far, I think, with Cerie, and I think it will cost her. You know who I really think of when I see Izzy, and maybe it's fair, maybe it's not. I really think of Brittany Hoops from last season. I remember the hypnotist Brittany, who was a super fan. She knew so much about the game, but sometimes she became so frantic when she was rushing, when she felt like she was in trouble, or when she felt like she had to control really just about everything going on. She always felt like she needed to be just going from place to place and chattering and then go somewhere else and do a little bit more. She almost became too involved in the process and taking too much control of the game. And you do that too much and people start kind of, it's like, oh, God, here she comes again. Cerise complained about that, said, Izzy wakes me up at 7 in the morning and she's talking game before I even have a chance to get my new mic pack. So you got to be careful when you play so hard, and she's certainly doing that. But I see a strategist in Izzy as well. I respect that. I just think she needs to just chill out, just tone it down just a couple of volumes on the dial, and you'll be good to go. All right, 8:03. We're going to shut it down there. God, we could talk for hours on this, but we'll shut it down for right now. So with that being said, guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. As I said at the beginning, I'll say it one more time. If you haven't already done so, please consider going out, subscribing to my YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and you can do one of those little thumbs up while you're out there as well. I appreciate that as well. Y'all have a fantastic Monday. Have a fantastic week. Becky Finley, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support, guys. It means so much to me. It's why I do it out here, really just get to hang with you guys and chat a little Big Brother and everything else that we always talk about. We'll finish it off with a big old SKD143. Love my wife, love my kids, love all of y'all as well. Stay safe, stay cool. It's going to be another crazy week of Big Brother. Before next Monday, feel free to send me questions, comments, opinions on Instagram or Twitter. I love talking about it here or on social media. So shoot me questions and we'll talk about it next week as well. And keep in mind that I do a morning update. So tomorrow morning, if you want to find out what happened overnight, you can come out to this channel and I'll give you the scoop. So you don't have to stay up all night long and watch these guys shoveling dirt back and forth and all those crazy things. All right, guys, y'all have a great one. Until tomorrow morning or until next Monday, y'all have a great week. Cheers, my friends. SKD143. Bye. Cheers, guys.